Welcome back to Remember and Hope. Earlier, I shared a video about how our testimonies can be turned into tools that inspire the next generation. That video is really important to watch first because it actually gives you the full breakdown of how I create youth programs, starting with prayer, then moving through activities, scripture, and more. I didn't want that video to get too long, so I recorded this separate post to give you a real example. In this one, I'll walk you through my first program, which was called Intercessory Prayer. I forget what exactly I had titled it, but that's what the main topic was about, intercessory prayer, and how it came together, lessons I learned, what I would have done differently, and so on and so forth. So I hope you enjoy, and I can't wait to continue to share these wonderful things and tools for you to be able to use with your youth. So one of the examples of a program that God gave me was based off of intercessory prayer. God had been showing me some amazing things about what intercessory prayer can do and how it not only changes others and helps others, but it also changed me by changing my heart and mind not to be all about me, but to be about others, which is much like the heart of God, right? So I wanted to share that with our youth. And so I prayed and I prayed about it. How could I best help them understand what intercessory prayer is like? And one day, as I'm talking with my intercessory prayer group, I mentioned how intercessory prayer, and this is where I think God gave me the idea. Intercessory prayer is like a battlefield where we are calling in help for a wounded soldier to be carried to safety, to be carried home. And it was just like, oh, that would be an awesome activity. And so basically, what I did is I had the youth come over and we had food. It's key, okay? Food is very important for these kids, okay? Snacks, food, drink, you name it, they need it. And so we had food, we had, free time. I have a pool, so they were playing in the pool for a bit. And then we came inside and we had prayer and I welcomed them there. That's, number one. And then I said, okay, today we are going to do a scene that I want you to do. And so I'm going to pass around a hat with these written out parts. And so everybody had a part. I had the people that would be rescuers. And so there was 4 rescuers because what they were doing is they were going to carry one wounded soldier on the battlefield in this huge sheet that I had. And they were going to try to carry him from one corner of the yard to the house. And then I had 2 guards who were going ahead of the rescuers to try to fight off the enemy who was going to try to come and attack. And so all 2 enemies that were trying to come and get the wounded soldier. Because a lot of the time, if we remember in the word, it says that we are fighting a spiritual battle. There's a spiritual battle going on. And with prayer, we are calling in for reinforcements. And so I explained to them that I needed them to choose a part. So everybody got a part. There was a wounded soldier. There was the rescuers, the 4 rescuers. There were 2 guards and 2 enemies. And so this is where it's good to have um, other adult help, parents or whatever, because I had um, one parent that was holding back the enemy until I said go because they were ready to go, and then I was helping with the other group. So I said, okay, before we get out and create the scene, what I want you to do is each person has something that they need to make, um, except for the wounded soldier per se, but everybody wanted to be involved, so I let them do it. So I had a bunch of cardboard boxes because, as you know, I just recently moved, so I had saved a bunch of my boxes. I brought out the cardboard boxes and I said, what you're going to do is you are going to create, um, I think it was like two to four shields. And then I had four swords that were needing to be made. And, if you know, other people want to create stuff, you can. And so we weren't using all of them, but they just had fun creating the swords and shields. One guy actually made like a full-on armor. It was awesome. Um, so they had a lot of fun with doing that. And then they took their shield and swords and we went outside to the yard in a far corner of the fence, and I set up the scene. I said, okay, I had one little girl, and mind you, in my church, the youth is from like age, I think it was like 6 or 7, all the way up to, I think the oldest one is 16, 17. Anyways, so a good amount of kids. So I had one of the little ones to be the wounded soldier, easier to carry. And then I had four people holding the edges of the sheet. So the wounded soldier goes in the middle, and then all four of the rescuers are holding up the wounded soldier. Then you had, with their shields and the swords, two guards going before them. And then on the other side, being held back until I said go, were the two enemies. And so I set everything up and I said, okay, everybody, it's your job to get this wounded soldier home. So when I say go, let's go into action. And so as soon as I said go, everything happened. It was awesome. We had the two enemy soldiers come running over, and then you had the two guards, trying to prevent them from getting the wounded soldier, and they were like going after each other and keeping them away. And then you have the four rescuers trying to like grab, and pull the wounded soldier along. And then finally, they got the wounded soldier home. So once that was done, we got inside. And I talked about how what they did was like intercessory prayer. When they pray for others, it's like we are calling for rescuers to get the wounded soldier, someone who is in need of help, to get home, to get what they need, to get help. And you're also, when you pray, you're getting help to fight off whatever enemy soldiers is trying to get that wounded soldier. And so it's bringing that home and helping them to understand that. And then I pulled in a verse that tied in with that, about the importance of intercessory prayer. And then what I did is to have kind of like a semi-craft um, thing for them to do. At the end, I had everybody write down a prayer request that they wanted to pray for and for themselves. And then we each put them on like a little note card and then put them upside down on the table. And then we shuffle them up. And then I said, okay, now everybody go ahead and grab one of the note cards. Make sure it's not your own. And then what we're going to do is we're going to practice intercessory prayer. And we're just going to say a small prayer. It doesn't have to be flowery. It doesn't have to be special. It doesn't have to be like all big and bad. It can be just, Lord, please pray for so and so. They need this and that. And so after each person went down the line and they prayed for the person that they had on their card in that prayer request, then we came together and I gave them I ordered the small little like notebook kind of a thing where they can write down prayer requests as they hear them from other people so that they can practice intercessory prayer throughout the week. And then we closed off with another prayer and that was it. And so that was the first one. And some things that I learned, I will tell you, some things that I learned from that first event was that one, you need incentives. Okay, I'm going to tell you what happened. So at this point, my daughter advised, I checked with her about how the program was going to run. She said, listen, if you're going to ask some questions, not a lot of people like um, being preached to. So just kind of try to engage them. So I say, okay, cool, I can do that. So I had questions for them, and I tell you what, crickets. It was like, and then there's, of course, you had the moms that are like elbowing, oh my goodness, they're elbowing their kid to like speak. And, but I said, next time I'm going to have incentives, for them to want to participate, to want to talk. And being that in my church I have kids that, have certain allergies and stuff, Oreos. Apparently Oreos are like the big thing that pretty much any kid can eat because I have some that have like dairy allergies and strange enough, Oreos don't have dairy. And so the second event that I did, I had Oreos and I said, okay, I'm going to ask some questions. And when you answer them, you get an Oreo. And oh my goodness, everybody wanted to participate. It was great. So, lesson learned, bring incentives for questions that you want answered, or even like voluntary reading. So, I wanted them to read the scripture or the verses, whatever that I had. And so I said, okay, for an Oreo. And that was super helpful. So, little thing, a little tidbit of something that I learned um, to have for the next time. And so, basically, my encouragement to you is this: you may not create full youth programs, but you can use your story. Start with prayer, and then ask God, how can you use my testimony to help someone else? It could be a conversation, mentoring, or sharing your testimony online. What once hurt you might become the exact wisdom someone else needs to keep going. So, all in all, thank you so much for watching. Remember and hope if this video encouraged you, please give it a like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need a reminder that their story matters. And don't forget to check out the other testimonies and resources here on the channel. Each one is designed to point you back to Jesus and fill you with hope. Thanks for watching this youth program example here on Remember and Hope. I wanted to keep my main video short and focused, but these separate posts let you actually see the programs in action. If you haven't already, make sure to go back and watch Turn Your Testimony into a Tool. It's the foundation. That's where I explain the full method I use to build programs like this, and it will help you understand how to create your own. And stay tuned, I'll be posting more examples soon. Sharing not just what worked, but also what didn't, along with extra tips you can use in your own ministry. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share so others can be encouraged to use their story for God's kingdom. Until next time, keep remembering and keep hoping. God bless.